Hello everyone, boys and girls, moms and dads, and all of our wonderful teachers. My name is Shamar Herron. I'm the Executive Director of Michigan Works Southeast. We practice workforce development. That's where we help individuals gain and maintain employment. Some of you call it just a regular job. That's what we're here to do. They asked me to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Shamar Herron. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I went to Grant Elementary School. We were known as the Gems. For high school, I went to Detroit Pershing, go Doughboys. I grew so tall that I was able to play basketball in college at the Ohio State University, OHIO. Alrighty, and lastly, I got to study in college both public administration because I knew I wanted to help people like yourselves who lived in cities, states, and towns. But I also studied social science where I learned how the world works and how people within the world work. I am so excited to be here. I'm going to read 3 books to you today. And we are excited to let you know that our community continues to read. Hello everybody, it's Shamar again, and we have our first book we're going to read. It is called, What Would the World Be Without Black People? Now you may be looking at me saying, why is he reading this book? And this book was chosen because it's going to tell a wonderful, historic tale about all of the great things that black people have done, not only for our country, but for the entire world. This book was written by Erica M. Burrell, and it looks like we should be calling her Dr. Burrell. So let's get started. What would the world be without black people? Dr. Burrell wanted to dedicate this book to every student she has ever worked with. You are capable of greatness, and I truly believe in y'all. Timothy walked into class angry. Miss Burrell looked at Timothy and asked, "Timothy, why are you so upset?" "Latifah took too long and I didn't get to swing today. I hate black people and wish they were never born." That's a tough statement. Hate? Miss Burrell looked at Timothy disappointed. "You do know I'm black, right? Do you hate me?" Timothy responded, "Well, most black people," he said under his breath. "Why do we need them anyway?" "Well, Timothy," Miss Burrell said, "I am glad you asked. Let's take a look at what your life would be like without any black people." Timothy looks pretty upset. She said, "Starting tomorrow, you will wake up and your life will look different. You will get your wish to live in a world with no black people." Timothy left that Friday afternoon excited. "Good, my life will be much better without those people." Timothy went home and finished his evening as usual, a bath, quick dinner, video games, and then sleep. He went to sleep excited to wake up to no black people ever existing. He's got Michael Jordan behind him, and I think he's a black guy. Timothy woke up the next morning ready to get his day started. He turned on his iPod to play his favorite rapper, Tupac. He kept pushing play and nothing came on. The knowledge fairy flew into Timothy's room and said, "Tupac is a black man. Timothy, you're in a world with no black people. Remember?" He looks pretty frustrated all of a sudden. Well then, why are you here? Timothy asked angrily. I am not a black person. I am a black fairy. A magical black fairy. My name is Knowledge Fairy. And every time that you go to interact with something related to black people, I will make sure you are unable to do it. She even has her own name tag. It says, my name is Knowledge Fairy. So she's gonna make sure Timothy learns his lesson. Not only was there no Tupac, Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, and other artists he loved, there was no hip hop or rap music at all. DJ Kool Herc, a black man, was responsible for the hip hop evolution you love today, said the Knowledge Fairy with a smile. Ding! That's DJ Kool Herc. He looks pretty cool. I don't care, Timothy shrugged. I'll just listen to something else, as he went to different genres in his iPod. Everything was gone. Says, sorry, no music. Timothy, the Knowledge Fairy continued, rock and roll began with Chuck Berry, a black man, in 1955. And Cab Calloway was one of the first R&B artists in the 1940s. So there's Chuck Berry, and there's Cab Calloway. Cab Calloway used to do Heidi Ho. That was a song. I remember that one. Just so you know, reggae and pop music. Okay, Fairy, Timothy interrupted. I get it. I basically can't listen to any of the music I like. So he's pulling his hair out now. He's getting more frustrated. Timothy started to do his chores so that he could go to the mall with his friends. When it came time to mop, Timothy looked around puzzled. So it looks like he swept, but now he's looking for the mop. And guess who pops up? Knowledge Fairy popped up and said, Tim, you're going to have to scrub the floors on your hands and knees. The mop was invented by a black man named Thomas W. Stewart in 1893. I didn't know that Mr. Thomas Stewart in 1893 invented the wet mop. Frustrated, Timothy scrubbed the floors and got dressed. When it was time for him to put on his shoes, he noticed his shoe rack was empty. Oh man, Timothy said, and he looked annoyed. I only had Jordan sneakers, and those were made by a black man too. Timothy put on his dad's shoes, which were too big, and asked his dad for a ride to the mall. Oh, Timothy, Knowledge Fairy sang as she flew into the room. Your dad owns an automatic car. The automatic gear shift was created by a black man named Richard Spikes in 1932. But, nice shoes, the Knowledge Fairy toasted. The Knowledge Fairy teased. Well, I'll just take the bus. Not quite, honey. Knowledge Fairy replied. The bus also uses a gear shift, plus it would not be safe because the black inventor Garrett A. Morgan is responsible for the contributions that made the traffic light we know today. You're gonna have to walk. So that's Garrett A. Morgan. I did a science project about him when I was just about your age. Timothy walked 30 blocks, 30 blocks to the mall with no music. He started to realize life without black people felt empty and cruel. When Timothy finally got to the mall, he didn't see the usual elevator. Look at those shoes, man. They look almost as big as him. And he's sweating. He's tired. Up popped the fairy, who said, "I think you have to take the stairs." Timothy looked at the fairy in disbelief. Alexander Miles, in 1887, created the automatic opening door we use for the elevators, and, excuse me, I'm gonna start that one over again. Up popped the fairy, who said, "I think you have to take the stairs." Timothy looked at the fairy in disbelief. Alexander Miles in 1887 created the automatic opening doors we use for our elevators, and he was a black man. The game store is on the 22nd floor. Timothy whined, "Well, you better start walking." Timothy was so exhausted, he decided to stop on the 12th floor for a hot dog and realized most of the food court was empty. "Hey, where's all the food?" Timothy asked out loud. So pizza, out of food. Burgers, drinks only. Hot dogs, no food. Most food delivery comes from a refrigerated truck. That was invented by Frederick McKinley Jones, another black man, around 1938. "Would you like a bottle of water?" Timothy sat down and drank his water before continuing up the stairs to the game store. When he finally arrived, he only saw one friend. "Hey, Jeff, where's Paul, Tyrell, and Lauren?" Jeff looked at Timothy confused. "Who?" Jeff asked. Knowledge Fairy sprinkled her dust and chimed, "Timothy, those other friends of yours were all black, so you can't see them anymore." Timothy was overwhelmed with sadness. "What have I done?" he asked himself. That's why you got to be careful with your statements. He continued wandering around the store looking for a video game. The one he wanted was sold out. He started to ask the cashier to order the game, but then heard the fairy whisper, "Actually, he can't order it for you. A black man named Philip B. Downing invented the modern day mailbox in 1891. You ever seen a mailbox like this? You pull the handle down and you put your mail in there, and hopefully it gets where it's supposed to be. Timothy walked the 30 blocks back home and thought about all the things he loved. Cool dances, television shows, food, clothes, and music. There were so many elements of black culture that he took for granted. Timothy got home and noticed everything was destroyed. He asked the police officer, "What happened to our house?" Before the officer could respond, Knowledge Fairy flew over Timothy and stated, "Osborne Dorsey, a black man, invented the doorknob in 1878. And Marie Van Britten Brown, a black woman, invented the first home security system in 1966. I am afraid because you could not use those inventions, your home was robbed." Now that's sad. But there's Marie Van Britten Brown, who invented the security system, the first one. It was a closed circuit system is what it was called. and Osborne Dorsey, the door handle. We all just use them every day and don't think about someone had to invent this. Having no bed because of the robbery, Timothy slept on the floor that night and decided not to do anything until Monday morning. He ran into school Monday yelling, "Miss Burrell, I know you're black. Please come back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Miss Burrell appeared in her bright yellow dress. Bing. He's got tears in his eyes. She looked at Timothy and said, "You know, everything about who you are would be different if it weren't for the contributions of black people. Everybody who has a body is somebody, Timothy. I hope you learned a valuable lesson." Miss Burrell turned to the class and said, "Okay, scholars, get out your notebooks. Today, class, we will learn about black creators." So we have a writer named Lena Waithe. We have a doctor and inventor named Dr. Patricia Bath. We have an inventor, Madam C.J. Walker. We have a strategist, Simone D. Sanders. We have a mathematician, Katherine Johnson, and a film director, Ava DuVernay, excuse me. We have rappers like Sean Jay-Z Carter, a producer, Missy Misdemeanor Elliott, a DJ Kool Herc. We have a guitarist, Chuck Berry, an inventor, we talked about her earlier, Marie Van Britten Brown. We have a singer, Cab Calloway. Here's some of the inventors that we've covered, and it looks like a few more. Alexander Mills, Frederick McKinney, Osborne Dorsey, Thomas Stewart, Philip B. Downing, Garrett A. Morgan, Richard Bowie Spikes, the end. Again, this was what would the world be like without black people? Thank you for sharing with me. I appreciate the time.